In the vast expanse of the galaxy, Earth stood unaware of the brewing storm until a cryptic distress signal pierced the silence of its space monitoring systems. The message was fragmented, but the urgency was clear. Somewhere in the uncharted sectors, a human girl had fallen into the clutches of the Zoltrax Empire, a civilization infamous for its ruthlessness and disdain for human life. Major John Calder, a veteran of Earth's interstellar navy, was immediately summoned to the United Planetary Command. The room buzzed with low voices as the top brass debated their next move. Calder, known for his calm demeanor and strategic mind, listened intently, his thoughts already racing through possible rescue scenarios. "Major Calder, you've been selected to lead the mission," Admiral Hayes announced, cutting through the murmurs. "Your record speaks for itself, and this mission requires someone with your expertise in hostile extractions." Calder nodded, feeling the weight of the mission settle on his shoulders. He was no stranger to danger, having navigated through interstellar conflicts and diplomatic minefields alike. Yet the thought of a human, possibly just a girl, suffering at the hands of the Zoltrax ignited a fire within him. "Thank you, sir. I won't let Earth down," Calder responded, his voice steady. The preparations began at once. Calder assembled his team with precision. Lieutenant Kara Thorne for her unparalleled piloting skills, Sergeant Leo Marks for his tactical acumen, and Dr. Emily Hsu for her medical expertise and knowledge of alien physiology. Together, they represented humanity's best shot at not just confronting the Zoltrax, but outsmarting them. Their vessel, the Star Warden, was a sleek interceptor-class starship, equipped with the latest armaments and stealth technology designed to evade detection. As the team loaded their gear, Calder briefed them on the mission. The details were sparse, but the objective was clear: infiltrate Zoltrax territory, locate the girl, and bring her back alive. As the Star Warden disembarked from Earth's orbit, Calder looked back at the receding blue planet. The mission was more than a rescue. It was a statement. Humanity would not stand idly by as one of their own was tormented by tyrants. The journey through space was tense, with every star and planet they passed a reminder of the vastness of their task. The crew spent hours drilling, planning their approach, and simulating various scenarios they might encounter. Calder knew the Zoltrax's reputation for cruelty all too well. This mission could easily turn into a standoff. But amidst the strategizing and the simulations, Calder felt a deep sense of purpose. This was why he had joined the Navy, to make a difference, to pull humanity out of its darkest corners and into the light of distant stars. As the Star Warden sliced through the blackness of space towards the Lichen Nebula, the gateway to Zoltrax space, Calder and his team were silent, each lost in their thoughts about the mission ahead. They were not just defenders of Earth but avengers for the voiceless, ready to face whatever horrors awaited them in the uncharted darkness. The Star Warden's engines hummed softly as it approached the edge of the Lichen Nebula, a massive cloud of gas and dust, known for its unpredictable space currents and hidden dangers. This nebula was notorious among space navigators for its ability to disable even the most advanced technology with its electromagnetic anomalies. But it also provided the perfect cover from the prying sensors of the Zoltrax Empire. Lieutenant Kara Thorne adjusted the ship's trajectory with expert hands, her eyes fixed on the swirling violet and blue hues displayed on the navigation screen. "Entering the nebula now," she announced, her voice calm despite the tension that gripped the cockpit. The Star Warden shuddered as it hit the first of the nebula's turbulent currents. Calder stood behind Thorne, watching the readouts fluctuate wildly. "Keep her steady, Thorne. Remember, we're not just fighting the Zoltrax, we're fighting the nebula itself." As they delved deeper, the nebula's electromagnetic interference intensified. Dr. Emily Hsu monitored the ship's life support systems closely, ensuring that the nebula's peculiar properties didn't disrupt the critical onboard systems. Meanwhile, Sergeant Leo Marks kept a vigilant watch on the radar, ready to alert the team to any incoming threats. The nebula was a maze, its pathways obscured by thick cosmic fog. Thorne navigated through it with a mixture of skill and intuition, dodging larger particles and debris that could compromise their mission before it truly began. It was during one such maneuver that an unexpected opportunity presented itself. A faint signal blinked on the radar, unusual and out of place amidst the natural background noise of the nebula. Marks leaned closer, his interest piqued. "We've got something here. It's weak, but it's definitely artificial. Could be a ship, could be a trap." Calder considered their options briefly. "Let's approach cautiously. Thorne, take us in closer, but stay ready to pull back at the first sign of trouble." As they closed in on the source of the signal, the outline of a ship emerged from the nebula's haze, a derelict cruiser seemingly abandoned and adrift. Calder decided to seize the chance. "Marks, Sue, suit up. We're going to check it out. There might be something we can use, or at the very least, we'll learn more about what's waiting for us ahead." The boarding party made their way over through a makeshift airlock, their suits protecting them from the harsh conditions outside. Inside the cruiser, they found signs of a skirmish, evidence that the ship had encountered the Zoltrax but had somehow managed to drift into the safety of the nebula. Amidst the scattered debris and the cold, silent corridors of the ship, they stumbled upon a cache of alien technology, likely scavenged from various encounters. Among the tech was a device that Marks, with his experience in electronic warfare, identified as a stealth module capable of masking a ship's signature from most detection systems. With this newfound technology, the team's hope surged. Calder knew that incorporating the stealth module into the Star Warden systems could give them the edge they needed to infiltrate the heart of the Zoltrax Empire undetected. As they returned to their ship, the crew worked swiftly to integrate the module. The nebula's cover and the new stealth tech combined to make the Star Warden a ghost ship, slipping through space unseen. Exiting the nebula, Calder felt a rare smile cross his face. They were now cloaked in shadow and silence, armed with the element of surprise. The Zoltrax wouldn't see them coming until it was too late. As they set their course towards the Zoltrax outpost planet Sornelius, the real test of their mission was about to begin. Cloaked by the stealth technology gleaned from the derelict cruiser, the Star Warden made its silent voyage towards Sornelius, the heavily fortified outpost planet under Zoltrax control. The atmosphere on board was tense, as the crew knew that the slightest error could expose them to the Empire's formidable defense systems. As they approached Sornelius, Calder's strategy shifted towards gathering intelligence and forging alliances. Sornelius was not just a military hub, but also a melting pot of alien races, subjugated and enslaved by the Zoltrax to fuel their war machine. Calder saw an opportunity in this diversity. An alliance, however fragile, could be formed among these oppressed groups. The Star Warden landed discreetly on the outskirts of a mining colony, where different alien species toiled under the watchful eyes of Zoltrax overseers. Calder and his team donned disguises using holographic tech to blend in as laborers. They split up to cover more ground and to sow the seeds of dissent among the workers. Calder walked through the colony, his disguise masking his human features, and engaged in hushed conversations with the workers. He shared stories of Earth's resistance against oppressors and spoke of a galaxy where freedom was more than a whispered dream. These stories ignited a spark of rebellion among the listeners. In return, they shared crucial insights about the prison's location and the Empire's troop movements, information that was vital for their mission's success. Meanwhile, Sergeant Leo Marks had infiltrated the security barracks. Posing as a mercenary, he accessed the barracks' communication logs, gaining insights into the security protocols for the prison complex where the girl was held. He encountered a few close calls, but managed to relay the information back to Calder without arousing suspicion. Dr. Emily Shu used her expertise to tend to injured workers, earning their trust and gathering more personal accounts of the Zoltrax's cruelty. Through her interactions, she learned about an underground network of medics and engineers who secretly sabotaged the Zoltrax efforts and provided care for the injured rebels. Lieutenant Kara Thorne scouted the terrain around the prison complex. Using a mix of stealth and her sharp piloting skills, she identified a series of hidden tunnels and ventilation shafts that could serve as potential entry or escape routes for the impending rescue operation. As the sun set over Sornelius, the team regrouped, sharing the intelligence they had gathered. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, and Calder felt a surge of hope. But he knew that hope alone wouldn't free the girl or the countless others suffering under the Zoltrax's rule. That night, Calder convened a secret meeting with the leaders of the various alien factions within the colony. Using the information gathered by his team, he proposed a coordinated strike against the Zoltrax. The humans would take the lead in the rescue operation, while the alien workers would create diversions and sabotage the Empire's operations from within. The plan was risky, and the air was thick with tension as the alien leaders deliberated. But the desire for freedom was universal, and one by one they agreed to the plan. A pact was formed, not just of necessity, but of a shared longing for liberation. As they prepared to part ways, Calder looked at the faces around him, allies bound by a common cause. Tonight we're more than a team, we're a rebellion. Tomorrow we strike, for freedom, for justice, for all our people. With new allies and a plan in place, the stage was set for a daring rescue. The shadows of Sornelius hid not just whispers of fear, but now murmurs of a coming storm. With their newly formed alliance of various alien races, Major John Calder and his team prepared for the most perilous part of their mission, infiltrating the high-security prison complex where the human girl was believed to be held. The complex was a fortress, surrounded by layers of security measures and patrolled by elite Zoltrax guards. Under the cover of darkness, the team approached the perimeter. Calder, clad in a dark stealth suit, led the group, while Lieutenant Kara Thorne coordinated their movements from a hidden outpost nearby, keeping an eye on enemy patrols through surveillance drones. The initial phase of their plan involved a series of coordinated distractions orchestrated by their alien allies. Explosions rocked distant warehouses, and false alarms sent Zoltrax forces scrambling across the complex. This chaos was the cue for Calder and his team to make their move. Navigating through the shadows, they reached the outer wall of the prison. Sergeant Leo Marks, using tools salvaged from the earlier salvage operation, quickly disabled the electronic locks on a service gate, allowing them entry into the facility. The corridors inside were stark and oppressive, lined with cells that held prisoners from countless races, each a victim of the Zoltrax's tyranny. As they moved deeper into the dungeon, the air grew colder and the cries of the tortured echoed off the walls. Dr. Emily Shu's face hardened with resolve. The suffering around her only strengthened her commitment to their cause. She administered quick, stealthy aid to a few prisoners along the way, promising them that liberation was coming. Their intel had been accurate, and after neutralizing a few unsuspecting guards in silent takedowns, they found the section where the human girl was reportedly held. The corridor here was heavily guarded, indicating the importance of the prisoners held within. Calder motioned for his team to hold position while he scouted ahead. Peering around a corner, he counted the guards and noted the security cameras sweeping the area. Returning to the group, he outlined a quick strategy. They would use a smoke bomb to obscure the camera's vision and take down the guards in a rapid, coordinated strike. The execution was flawless. Within seconds, the guards were incapacitated, and the cameras were blind. The team advanced to the cell indicated in their intelligence report. Calder's heart pounded as Marks keyed in the override codes they had obtained from the security barracks. The cell door slid open with a hiss, revealing a dimly lit room. Inside, the frail figure of the human girl sat against the wall, her eyes squinting against the sudden light. Her condition was poor, but she was alive. Calder knelt by her side, speaking gently. "We're here to take you home. You're safe now." The relief in her eyes was palpable, yet there was no time to waste. Sue quickly checked her health, administering a stimulant to help her stand. As they prepared to extract her, the sounds of alarms began to fill the air. The Zoltrax had realized something was amiss. Calder rallied his team. "Time to move. Our exit won't stay clear for long." They retraced their steps, evading additional patrols that had been alerted by the ongoing disturbances. Each corner turned, and each corridor navigated brought them closer to freedom. But the growing number of guards and the escalating alarms promised a not-so-smooth escape. Emerging back into the night, Thorne guided them via comms to a new extraction point, where she had the getaway vehicle ready. The group, now larger with the addition of the rescued girl, moved quickly under the cover of night, dodging spotlights and gunfire. As they finally reached the extraction point, Calder looked back at the imposing structure of the prison, its alarm still blaring in the distance. They had struck a significant blow against the Zaltrax Empire tonight, not just in rescuing one of their own, but in demonstrating the power of united defiance. The fight was far from over, but for now, they had won their most crucial battle. The shadows of the night provided little cover as Major John Calder and his team, now with the human girl in their care, raced across the rugged terrain toward their extraction point. Calder's heart pounded with a mix of adrenaline and apprehension, aware that each second in the open increased their risk of recapture. Behind them, the alarms of the Zaltrax prison complex wailed, a cacophony that was quickly joined by the thunderous roar of approaching enforcement drones. Calder glanced back, seeing the flickering lights of the drones cutting through the darkness, closing in fast. "Thorne, we need that extraction now." Calder's voice was tense as he relayed their position to Lieutenant Kara Thorne, who was already maneuvering the Star Warden into position for a quick getaway. Thorne, piloting with deft precision, brought the ship low over the designated extraction zone, her engines disturbing the dust and debris below. "Ropes down," she called out over the comms as the side hatch of the Star Warden opened, throwing down ropes for the team's rapid ascent. Sergeant Leo Marks took the lead, securing the girl with a harness. "Let's move! Double time!" His voice was a steady command as he helped her grip the rope, ensuring she was secure before addressing the rest of the team. Dr. Emily Hsu covered their rear, firing off shots at the incoming drones, her face set in grim determination. The drones buzzed closer, their targeting systems locking on just as the team began their ascent, ropes whirring as they were pulled up toward the ship. Calder was the last to grab hold, firing his weapon until the last possible moment before letting go and trusting his team to pull him up. As he ascended, Thorne skillfully navigated the ship to dodge incoming fire, the ship's hull ringing with the impact of near misses. Once aboard, the team collapsed against the walls of the cargo bay, catching their breath as Thorne pushed the Star Warden to its limits, rocketing away from the planet's surface. The drones, unable to keep up with the ship's speed, fell behind, their lights fading into the darkness of space. Calder turned to check on the girl, who, despite the chaos, managed a weak smile. Sue was already by her side administering first aid, her hands steady as she treated minor injuries and ensured the girl was stable. With the immediate threat behind them, Calder's mind raced ahead to the implications of their mission. They had successfully extracted the girl, but her rescue could be the catalyst for a much larger conflict. The information she possessed about the inner workings of the Zaltrax Empire and the whereabouts of other key prisoners could prove invaluable. As the Star Warden set its course back to Earth, the team gathered around the girl, eager to hear her story and understand more about the circumstances of her capture. Calder knew that her insights would be crucial for their next moves. The girl's voice was soft but clear as she began to recount her harrowing tale, each word weaving a clearer picture of the enemy they all faced. This mission was far from over. It was just the beginning of a larger battle for freedom across the galaxy. After their narrow escape from Selius, Major John Calder and his team, aboard the Star Warden, rendezvoused with the Aliox fleet hidden in the debris field of the Harlan asteroid belt. The makeshift coalition of alien races that Calder had begun to forge was already assembling, drawn together by shared grievances against the Zaltrax Empire and spurred into action by the successful rescue of the human girl. As the Star Warden docked with the Aliox command ship, Calder was greeted by Commander Tyrell, a tall, stoic figure who had been instrumental in rallying the disparate groups. Tyrell's eyes were filled with a mix of respect and urgency. "Your success has given us hope, Calder, but it's also accelerated our need to strike. The Zaltrax will be on high alert now," he stated, leading Calder and his team to the strategy room. The command center was abuzz with activity, with representatives from various enslaved species strategizing over holographic maps of Zaltrax territories. Calder introduced the girl, whose first-hand account of the inner workings of the Zaltrax operations provided invaluable intelligence. Her details on patrol patterns, supply routes, and weak points in the Empire's communications network were particularly crucial. With this new information, the Coalition quickly formed a plan of attack. The strategy involved multiple fronts: space assaults to engage the Zoltrax fleet, diversionary tactics to draw forces away from key planets, and surgical strikes on ground facilities to disrupt command and control structures. Lieutenant Kara Thorne was assigned to lead a squadron in the space assault, using her expert piloting skills to outmaneuver the Zoltrax ships. Sergeant Leo Marks would head one of the ground strike teams, targeting a critical communications hub. Dr. Emily Hsu volunteered for a medical team that would follow the ground forces, tending to the injured and ensuring that civilian casualties were minimized. The planning session stretched late into the hours as strategies were refined and roles assigned. Calder, understanding the gravity of what they were about to undertake, addressed the room with a unifying speech. This isn't just about one rescue mission or one victory. This is about changing the course of our galaxy, about proving that tyranny can be challenged, that freedom is worth fighting for. Together we are not just survivors, we are warriors. As the final preparations were made, the Coalition forces began their positions. Signals were synchronized, and fleets moved into formation. The mood among the troops was tense but determined, each member aware of the part they had to play in the upcoming battle. The assault was launched at dawn. The first salvos of the space battle lit up the dark void, signaling the start of what would come to be known as the Liberation Offensive. Thorne's squadron darted through the Zoltrax fleet, their ships weaving a dance of destruction that allowed the main Coalition forces to breach the enemy's defensive line. On the ground, Marks and his team infiltrated the communications hub, using stealth and precision to avoid detection. The hub was taken with minimal resistance, its capture sending ripples through the Zoltrax command structure and sowing chaos among their ranks. Back on the command ship, Calder watched the battle unfold, coordinating movements and providing support where needed. The Coalition's forces pushed forward, gaining ground and momentum against the reeling Zoltrax defenders. As the day wore on, the tide of battle turned clearly in favor of the Coalition. The Zoltrax, unprepared for such a coordinated and spirited resistance, began to falter. Calder allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism as reports of victories began to outnumber reports of setbacks. The success of the Liberation Offensive would hinge on maintaining the pressure and exploiting the cracks now evident in the Zoltrax's once impenetrable facade. For Calder and his allies, this was the beginning of the end for the Zoltrax Empire. The battle for freedom was far from over, but hope was on their side, and the galaxy had never felt more united. The Liberation Offensive had transitioned from a series of strategic strikes to an all-out assault. Major John Calder watched as the coalition of alien races pushed deep into the heart of the Zoltrax Empire, targeting key military and infrastructure points across multiple systems. The Zoltrax, overwhelmed by the ferocity and coordination of the attacks, struggled to mount a coherent defense. The Star Warden, under the command of Lieutenant Kara Thorne, spearheaded the space operations. Thorne expertly maneuvered the ship through intense dogfights, breaking through the Zoltrax fleet's formations to clear a path for the Coalition's heavier ships. Each victory brought them closer to the Zoltrax capital, a fortified planet that served as both the political and military hub of the Empire. On the ground, Sergeant Leo Marks led his squad through the dense jungles of Yorin, a key strategic planet where the Zoltrax had set up one of their largest command centers. The jungle was thick with not only flora but automated defense systems that the Zoltrax had installed. Despite the challenges, Marks's team managed to disable the defenses, allowing the main Coalition forces to land and secure the area. Meanwhile, Dr. Emily Hsu worked tirelessly in makeshift field hospitals, treating wounded soldiers from various races. Her medical bay was a microcosm of the Coalition itself, a testament to the unity and determination of the diverse groups fighting side by side. Hsu's efforts saved countless lives, boosting the morale of the troops and strengthening their resolve to fight on. As the offensive neared the capital, Calder prepared his team for what would be the final and most critical phase of their mission. They needed to capture the Zoltrax Emperor, a move that would symbolically and practically signal the end of the Empire's rule. Calder briefed his team on the plan, emphasizing the importance of capturing the Emperor alive if possible. The final battle commenced at dawn. Calder and his team, along with a select group of elite fighters, infiltrated the Imperial Palace through a covert entry point identified by their reconnaissance teams. The palace was a labyrinth of opulence and defense mechanisms, reflecting the paranoia and extravagance of its ruler. Inside, they encountered fierce resistance from the Imperial Guards, elite warriors loyal to the Emperor. The corridors echoed with the sounds of gunfire, energy blasts, and the clashing of hand-to-hand combat. Calder led from the front, his determination unyielding as they fought their way through to the throne room. The throne room doors burst open to reveal the Zaltrax Emperor, clad in his ceremonial armor, surrounded by his last loyal protectors. The Emperor, realizing the futility of further resistance, surrendered, his expression a mix of defiance and resignation. With the Emperor's capture, the battle outside began to wane. Word of his surrender spread quickly, demoralizing the remaining Zaltrax forces. Calder secured the Emperor, ensuring his safety for a trial, as Thorn and Marks joined him in the throne room, their faces weary but relieved. As the coalition forces took control of the capital, celebrations broke out among the troops and the liberated planets. The galaxy had witnessed the fall of a tyrant, brought about by an unprecedented unity among diverse species, all rallied by the plight of a single human girl and the leadership of Calder and his team. The battle for freedom was bloody and fraught with loss, but it ended with the promise of a new era of cooperation and peace among the races of the galaxy. The Zaltrax Empire was no more, its reign of terror replaced by a hopeful coalition of free worlds, ready to build a future together. The battle-scarred galaxy woke to the dawn of freedom, as the Zaltrax Empire's fall marked the end of an era of tyranny and the beginning of a new chapter of cooperation and peace. In the capital's main square, once a symbol of the Zaltrax dominion, Major John Calder stood amidst a crowd of jubilant beings from countless worlds. The sense of victory was palpable, but so was the realization of the monumental task ahead, rebuilding what was destroyed and forging a lasting peace. Calder and his team, recognized as heroes, were at the forefront of these efforts. As the new provisional government began to take shape, Calder was appointed as a senior advisor, a role that leveraged his extensive experience and the deep respect he commanded across the coalition. Under the clear skies of the capital, representatives from every liberated planet gathered to ratify the new Galactic Charter. This document, crafted from the aspirations of all coalition members, aimed to ensure that no single power could ever dominate the galaxy again. It promoted equality, freedom, and cooperation among the planets, enshrining the principles that had united them in their struggle. The ceremony was broadcast throughout the galaxy, reaching even the most remote outposts. People watched as Calder, alongside leaders from various races, signed the charter. The scene was emblematic of the new era, a tapestry of diverse beings united by a common goal of peace and prosperity. Lieutenant Kara Thorne, now a celebrated pilot, took charge of the newly formed Galactic Peacekeeping Fleet. Her role was crucial in maintaining security and assisting worlds still grappling with the aftermath of the Empire's rule. Sergeant Leo Marks transitioned into training local militias, ensuring that each planet had the means to defend itself and contribute to the collective security. Dr. Emily Hsu established a Galactic Medical Corps dedicated to providing care to all coalition worlds, prioritizing the rehabilitation of those most affected by the conflict. Her efforts were vital in healing not just the physical, but also the psychological scars left by years of oppression. As the new government stabilized, Calder found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. The girl they had rescued, now recovering and studying to become a diplomat, symbolized the resilience and potential of their new society. Her story, like many others, inspired ongoing efforts to ensure that the dark days of the Zaltrax Empire remained a closed chapter. The coalition celebrated its first year with a galaxy-wide festival. Lights adorned every city, and joyous music filled the air, a stark contrast to the silence once imposed by the Zoltrax. Calder, standing beside his team, felt a surge of pride. They had not just ended a tyrannical rule, but had laid the foundation for something greater than any of them had imagined. As the festival continued into the night, Calder looked up at the stars, now not just beacons of light but symbols of hope and home for the entire galaxy. They had shown the universe that when faced with unspeakable darkness, the spirit of freedom could unite even the most unlikely allies to achieve the impossible. This was not just a new dawn for the galaxy, but a testament to the enduring strength and unity of its people.